We have two very special guests this morning. We have Dr. Shala Madhu Karji, who is the Director of Community-Based Rehabilitation, IDC International. And we have Ms. Karen Clay, who is the CEO of Higher Potential for Learning.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Good morning.
When we talk about caregiver support and advocacy for children with disabilities, what are we talking about?
So advocacy for caregivers who have children with disabilities, advocacy includes education, providing resources, having the parents understand their child's disabilities. We are in a place where we're looking at Trinidad and Tobago, we're looking at Guyana, and we are not able to provide these resources. These countries are not able to give the appropriate resources to the parents. And again, we go back to education, community integration. It could be as simple as physical therapy, OT, special education services so that these children can learn.
And it is a partnership with the Higher Potential for Learning,
Yes.
which is an organization in Trinidad and Tobago.
As well as in the States as well. So as an educational psychologist, we know now that within Trinidad, teachers as well as parents need to have more training and awareness regarding kids with special needs. So Trinidad is on the path of having full inclusion within their classrooms. And if they intend to be a developed country, they're going to have that implemented quick, fast.
And Dr. Madhu Karji, you are a US-based Guyanese autism specialist.
Yes.
And you conducted some research which would shed some light on these issues.
Yes, so I'm actually in the final phase of that research. It started last May. This May will conclude the research, which, and I can give some preliminary results. Parents are in dire need for help. We don't have even a definition, operational definition for the word disability. And we're struggling to do that. Dr. Clay and I are trying to break that trend, and we're trying to now assess and to figure out what programs are in place. The United Nations in 2006 put forth 50 amendments and asked that all developing countries create a forum that will help people with disabilities as well as their families. Yes. And we have not even gotten there yet. And it's a huge concern. It's critical that we recognize the disabled population as a real population and to work towards providing resources so this population doesn't get neglected.
Yeah, that word disability, though, you know, people don't like to use it very often.
Of course, yeah.
No,
So,
we can say that people learn differently.
Right.
Or differently abled.
Right.
So, which is a much better word to present when we're looking at any population. Right. Children who learn differently can be productive parts of our society, but they can't do so without the skills required and without an equal access to an equal education across the board. That is something currently that's not present for our learning differently population.
And in addition to that, to piggyback off of Dr. Clay, a disability does not mean an inability.
Exactly.
And we want to make that very clear. You are able to do as much as we are able to teach you as long as we have the resources and as long as we support the parents.
Yeah, and we talk about disability, and I know in Trinidad we have a lot of sport teams that, you know, promote athletes who may have disabilities. One of them is the blind cricket. And I did a pilot study for my master's project recently, looking at the contributions that playing such a sport may have on the lives of these people. And they did share some of their stories and how difficult it was for them, and, you know, not getting the support necessary at times from the people around them, especially, because, you know, it might put them out of their way.
Correct, correct. Well, the parents feel vulnerable. They're at a loss. They're hopeless at times. And my research from just Guyana, just parents they're afraid. Like even if they speak up, like we're going to be labeled. We're going to be there's a stigma that's already there for people with disabilities. It's the parents' fault. It's the mom's fault. How do we move forward with this? And providing the support from different groups, it'll be great, but to access those support is where we're finding that there's a huge challenge.
Yes.
And what you are doing in Trinidad and Tobago is a 3-event series that you have in collaboration with the Ministry of Education.
Well, not
No.
in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. I'm so sorry. We have definitely reached out to the Ministry of Education, asking them to support some of the workshops that we've already conducted in Trinidad and Tobago. At this time, we've already conducted 3 of them. We have done so in collaboration with Bishop Anstey High School. They have hosted 2 of our events without any support from the Ministry of Education, as well as Holy Faith Convent. The public special schools have brought myself and Dr. Karji in at their own expense. Even after asking for assistance, they've brought us in at their own expense to train their teachers to be able to assist these students within the classroom effectively.
And in addition to that, Dr. Clay and I have been colleagues for a long time. We're also this is girls helping girls and people like us, not just girls. This is pushing, making sure that whatever we can do to help with what we know, with our expertise, that paying it forward. We're not here to give back. And this is my first trip to Trinidad. And when Dr. Clay asked me to do this with her, it wasn't a question is whether I'm going to do it. Is yes, I'm going to do it. How I'm going to get it done is a whole different story.
Right.
So taking time off from my position in New York and coming here with making sure that I had the finances to support what we need to do, it wasn't easy to do, but we're going to try our best to get it done.
Yes.
So on Saturday, March 24th, you had the Supporting Multiple Abilities through Differentiation.
Yes.
That took place at Bishop's Anstey.
Yes.
And on Monday, which was yesterday, you had the what, how, and why for impactful teaching. Yeah, and today you're having an event as well, the educational workshop for adolescents, parents, and professionals on depression and suicide.
Yes.
That sounds interesting. What can we expect from that?
Well, that will be at Holy Faith Convent in Couver, and it is actually geared towards not only parents and teachers, but anyone who is in contact with an individual who they feel is going through the journey of depression and could have suicidal thoughts and anxiety. This is where they'll be able to come and be able to find out what are the flags. How am I supposed to be able to see that this individual needs help even when they themselves are not asking for assistance? And where can I guide them to or point them to here in Trinidad where they can actually get some assistance?
We're used to a culture who responds to us, what do you have to be depressed about?
Yes.
We want to be able to shed some light on that. There's a lot to be depressed about. There's a lot that affects us on a daily basis, whether it's chronic depression or acute depression. We want to be able to distinguish that. And we want to be able to tell the younger generation it's okay to tell someone that you're not feeling well, and to be able to describe what not feeling well means. Because it's not a physical, it's not only physical, it's mental. And for us, for psychologists in our world, if you're mentally drained and you feel that you are not capable of doing something because it's due to your mental state, physically you cannot get anything done. It's a direct correlation with the two.
What was the turnout like, and the demographic of people, young people, older people? What were you seeing? I know it was in the school.
You're speaking of the previous,
the
two
previous
events.
two.
On Saturday, the turnout was sadly poor. We only had between 10 to 12 individuals who came, but they were teachers and parents who attended, and they wanted to be able to understand, how am I supposed to know how my child learns, and how do I basically modify the environment to ensure that learning happens throughout their day, and it's not just in specific segments of their day. The turnout yesterday was actually quite well. We had about 47 individuals and one parent, 46 teachers and one parent. Some teachers came all the way from Tobago to be able to understand how are we supposed to assist our population of special needs kids, and how can we effectively do so in the classroom. They're not getting any assistance from the Ministry of Education to continue professional development on a regular basis.
So what do you expect for this morning into afternoon?
This morning, I'm expecting to see a great deal of parents, as well as teachers, but probably more parents, who are at their wits' end. They want to help their child, but they do not know how to enter into that world of pure confusion and sadness, which is the world of depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Dr. Kaji, you mentioned that you are here for the first time.
Yes.
What have you seen or heard that you think we can change in order to accommodate the people living with disabilities and accommodate their families so that, we would not have that amount of stress placed on the families alone? The old saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
I would like for us to silence the shame. I would like for us to stop pretending that it doesn't exist, to embrace it and to address it head on. From the second I landed, I said to Dr. Clay, my God, it's so different than Guyana, because the resources that are here in Trinidad, I didn't have in Guyana. When we were developing our PowerPoints, I said to her, I'm going to have access to PowerPoint? Woohoo! And
we're well advanced technologically.
Right, and it's very different because it is a struggle, it's a challenge, but something similar between both countries that I've noticed is the shame and hiding behind it. It's not shameful. It exists within all of our families. We see it, we grew up with it, and it's okay. Like I always say, I'm perfectly okay with my mental illness as long as I'm aware of what assistance I need or what help I need. And we are going to strive together to help people to understand that it's okay. There is help for it. There's a reason, there's a trigger, there's a reason why things are happening the way it happens. And it's how we address it is what's going to change. So ultimately, we want to be able to effect positive social change and positive social justice for people with disabilities and with mental illness.
Yeah, but that's easy to say, but how hard is it going to be to do it?
It's going to be very difficult to do it, but we're going to target one person at a time. We're not expecting to do the 50 people we had in the workshop yesterday. We're going to, like, one of the parents keep popping up in my head. Even this morning I said to Dr. Clay, there's something about this parent, and it's a response we get from them as well. And you can present anything in any forum. There is going to be that one person or that one student that's going to come up to you and say, okay, this is what I need. And if we can reach one person, then we're successful. We're not aiming to reach the entire country because that's unrealistic.
Yes. Dr. Clay, you are Trinidadian, so
Yes,
you would be able to say, what do you think we can do as a people in order to change the culture that we have?
Now, cultural change is not an easy thing to occur in any country, but we need to begin allowing people to have a voice. The biggest issue within Trinidad is many times, children are seen and not heard, so to speak, and they're not allowed to have a voice. When kids are saying deep within them they're frustrated about testing and they're overwhelmed within our culture about how their parents are pushing them towards this perfection, this having to reach the ones in every single subject, but they are not asking them, how are you feeling today? They're not asking them, what is this fear that you have of failure? How is that impacting you? Children are alone when it comes to the distress that they're experiencing throughout, and we need to start taking that step of allowing them to have that voice.
So a lot of work to be done, a lot of hard work to be done, and we start with the series that has been going on.
Yes, we decided, I think we decided in a chair together yesterday, we have not even scratched the surface just yet.
It's a long way to go. Well, if you want to be part of this discussion, you can definitely go to the Holy Faith Convent in Couva for the educational workshop for adolescents, parents, and professionals on depression and suicide. That's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Holy Faith Convent in Couva. I would like to thank both of you ladies for joining us and telling us what work you all are doing to help those differently able people in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.